Hi, my name is Sam from The Beauty in It Reseller, and as many of you may have heard before, I am a part-time reseller on eBay and Poshmark. But what you might not have known, especially if you're new to this channel, is that my full-time job is actually as a search engine optimization specialist, which really goes and helps with reselling because I do know a lot about how to appear in search results. So where I might not be as advanced in sourcing and finding the latest and greatest items, where I do excel is in being able to provide the keywords and optimize my listings for search so that I can make better sales. And I wanted to share some of that knowledge with you, and so I figured I would just do a little chatty video here, talk a little bit about how search engine optimization works, what are the main things to look out for, and then I've also asked in a couple Facebook groups what people had questions about, and we can go over some of those questions in this video as well. So as just a general search engine optimization is all about robots. When you put a listing up on eBay, or if you have a website that you're optimizing for Google and other search engines, content is what really matters because these are just robots that are crawling through your listing to kind of read and understand the context of what you're talking about. It's not humans going through and saying, oh, this is about jeans, so I'm going to put it into this category. It is just a robot who's going through and reading the content. There are things that you can do on any platform to kind of speed that process along by making sure that you are choosing the correct category when you're listing and ensuring that you are using the right terminology for the item that you're selling. Those are things that are just going to happen naturally, but there are little tweaks that you can make to help improve your listing. On both Poshmark and eBay, more so on eBay at this point because Poshmark has been experimenting with their algorithm, but the number one thing I can tell you is that the title is very important. And the more information you're able to include in your title, the better off it is that someone is going to find your listing through the search functionality of the platform. So if you have a pair of Levi jeans, I would make sure to include the model number. So each of the Levi jeans has a different number that goes along with the jeans that you are listing. I would include information about the size of the item, especially on eBay. Poshmark, this is a little less important just because you are able to choose the size, and that is what will kind of filter in the search function for the buyer. It will edit automatically by their size. So this is more important on eBay, is to include more information directly into the title. I would include things like what the wash of the jeans are, if there's any really unique features of the jeans. And so that's just one example. Don't just put Levi jeans in your title. Make it a little bit more descriptive. Talk about the style, the color, the size, and any other unique features. If you're thinking of something more along the lines of a video game or electronics, make sure that you're including any of the information that a buyer would use to look for that item. So if it's a World of Warcraft game, make sure to include the year that it was produced. And then also if there's anything to note about the product, if the manual is included, etc. So be more descriptive in your title, and that's going to go a long way in helping you to appear in search results. I did have a question come in from a member from the Facebook group. What exactly is readable by the search robots? And so any kind of content you can include on these platforms is something that they have included in their algorithm. It's a little bit different with Google and Google's search results because some things hold more weight than others when you are considering the actual web page. However, with platforms like eBay and Poshmark, they're not going to include an item that doesn't help them to organize their search function in some shape or form, because they are paying for their search mechanism and they're not just going to have items in there that aren't going to help drive that. So where you can, include more information in your description. Make sure you're filling out the different items that eBay allots for you to better describe your item, because these are things that can help to make you appear in search. Don't go crazy. They do have the items that they recommend that you fill in. I would definitely fill in those. If it's something that just doesn't make sense, don't feel like you have to fill out every single feature that they have on there, because it can be really time consuming and that could really hold you up from getting items listed. But if you have the time, that's always a good thing. You can go back into a listing to revise, add a little bit more information. Basically, the gist of it is search engines can't understand yet what a picture is. So if you're just relying on the pictures to tell the story of what you're trying to sell, you're not going to have as much success as you would if you actually laid out that content in your listing that a robot can read through and understand to help parse your listing to users who are looking for that. Another question that came in from a user on Facebook was, what is the magic number of items to list per day? And I think the answer to this question is not cut and dry, unfortunately. It really depends on what you are selling on your store. For example, if you sell clothing, that's a really saturated market, but it also is a market where there's a lot of searchers. A lot of people are looking for clothing, and so it's really necessary to post more frequently than if you were into a more specific market like a vintage piece that is very rare and hard to come by, because people you're not competing against a lot of other sellers in that. So I think kind of look at your closet, look at the items that you're selling, think about the popularity of those items, and I would say if you have a more popular item such as electronics, clothing, video games, even now like the stuffed animal market, the plushie market is really growing, shoes, these are kind of the categories where I would say you want to shoot for maybe 3 to 5 listings at a minimum per day, and that's going to keep your eBay store relevant and keep feeding new content to robots. They do look at how frequently you post as a part of their algorithm, and that will help you to appear more for the items that are already within your store. And the impressions that your listings are getting, the views that people are clicking over to your listings, these are all things that are going to help increase exponentially for your other listings. So again, it's important to make sure you're including more information in your title. It's also important to have really enticing photos right up front. Make sure you're spending the most time on your cover photo, the photo that's going to entice a user to click over to your result. Another question that I got was, what are the keywords for your listing? What is it that you should be using within your listing? And this again really depends on your category, what items you're selling. But really, try to put yourself in the mind of a buyer. What would you search for in order to find that item? If you want to validate whether or not that is popular, there are some tools out there. Google does have a keyword planner for their ads, Google Ads. I'm not sure if you can still access that for free, so I'll double check on that. But essentially, it's going to give you an idea of how much volume people are. It's essentially going to give you an idea of the volume of people who are looking for certain words. And that is going to be slightly different than what you would see on eBay, because it is a much smaller search platform. But if you were looking at 2 different words to maybe include in your title, you can look to see if the volume is higher for one or the other to decide which kind of takes precedence. You can also use, Google has a trends tool that's also really helpful, especially if you are selling more of the popular items. It's probably not going to help quite as much for vintage items or some of the more niche markets. But if you're selling popular items, you can look at trends to see what perhaps you should be focusing in on as far as what to include in your title. And also, while you're outsourcing, this could be really helpful if you want to see whether or not a brand like Free People is starting to decline in its popularity. You can look up that as a search term on Trends, and you can see a graph of how many people have searched for that topic within a given time frame. So that's a really cool tool that's available. I highly recommend that you check it out. And I will leave any links in the description of some tools that I can think of that are free to use that might help with SEO for eBay. So thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, leave them in a comment below. I will continue making videos. This is my full-time job, so I definitely want to be a helpful resource for resellers. It is what I'm passionate about, and so leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I can cover those in a future video. And I would love it if you could subscribe. I am trying to grow this channel, so I would love it if you could join me. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that I should continue with these kind of tips and tricks types of videos, and I will catch you on the next one.